What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the opinionated hippie, and today I'm doing my top 10 favorite Phish songs. How did we get to Phish? Phish covers Frank Zappa's Peaches live. We get there. You can hear that on a number of live discs that Phish has released over the years. I saw Phish well over 100 times in the 90s, and then maybe only a dozen or so since then. Every time they played Bonnaroo, anytime they played Texas, which is not that many times. I haven't really been as much into them in the last decade plus as I was in like the 90s and early 2000s. But revisiting them recently, their new albums are surprisingly good. And there's a couple, two songs on here on their maybe not relatively, one song from a relatively new album, two songs from a relatively new album on here. But anyways, yeah, that's it. I'm just going to go through my 10 songs and I'll put the list up on the screen. And then you can look at it and then tell me your favorite songs. And these are really based on the studio album versions only. If this was a live, like the 10 songs I want to see live more than any other, this is a almost completely different list. There are another number of songs on here that would make both lists, but it would be, for the most part, a different list. But anyways, here we go. Number 10, What's the Use? An 11-plus minute jam off the Sick It disc. The Sick It disc are studio jams that were recorded during the recording of The Story of the Ghost. This one has sort of one kind of low-key, slow-burning melodic theme that gets repeated almost for the entirety of the 11 minutes. It's a little like normal slow burn, then we get like spacier slow burn, and things don't really reach too much of a crazy peak, but it's a really good 11 minutes. Like it's like if they drop like a really long 30 to 40 minute tweezer, it's like something you would find, just like one of those middle jams in the middle of a tweezer that just goes on like probably a little longer than any other band would jam it out, maybe even a little longer than it should, but then it keeps going. You're like, oh man, I'm glad they didn't stop it, because we've reached another just kind of like sweet point without really varying the landscape too much. It's just like a groove, and it's absolutely fantastic listen. My number 9, Pages Halfway to the Moon. I think this is off the Fuego disc, right? And it is just almost has a Radiohead vibe, I would say. Like it's like a kind of a piano ballad Radiohead vibe. There's a lot of sort of spaciness going on around it. There's a lot of just kind of atmospherics, but it's like this nice sort of piano motif that guides the song. I don't know, it just has a really sort of eerie, unsettling Radiohead-esque vibe that works great on a really good album, Fuego. But yeah, I think that's the most recent song on here, but a fantastic song. I almost had a couple other more recent Page songs make this list, because Page's songwriting in like the last decade plus has been fantastic, but this is probably my favorite of his. Number 8, a song I Heard the Ocean Sing off Undermined, a criminally underrated album if you ask me. I love this jam. It's just a long, kind of slightly aggressive, weird, jammy, kind of all over the place energy, but a really, really good jam in the middle. This is the song that has the what a man, what a man, what a man background vocals. They're saying run away, but it sounds like what a man, what a man, what a man. Little 90s R&B thrown in there. Fantastic jam. I think it's a great song. Number 7, the instrumental First Tube, which closes out Farmhouse. Just really nice slinky guitar, like dun, 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 that kind of gets repeated over and over before we go into like a guitar solo that close out, like a jam to close out. But it's really nice energy, really great live song. Really highlights Trey's guitar playing and just the band in general. Nice, long, jammy instrumental. Really, really good song. Number 6, another album closing song in Demand closes out Hoist. And I picked this because the song Demand on Hoist, you get the 2.5 minute song, which is like this, kind of reminds me of like an early 80s Zappa type sort of guitar riff that goes throughout it, but it's a little darker and just a little more intense. But then after you get the song, you get sort of this like ambient noise of somebody getting in their car and starting the car, and they put in a cassette tape, and the cassette tape plays an actual live split open and melt jam. And so you get the entirety of this split open and melt jam before like the end of the song, when you can hear the car kind of driving faster and faster, and it turns some corners quickly, and then it crashes. And then we get some sort of like, some like vocal singing to fade us out as sort of like maybe a symbol of somebody rising to heaven. But it's a neat track. The song itself is pretty neat, but that jam tacked on the end, brilliant decision by the band. The jam is good. It's split open and melt. What a fantastic song. So yeah, that would be my number 6. Number 5 off their first album, The Divided Sky. Divided sky, the wind blows high. Divided sky, the wind blows high. Those are all the lyrics. The rest of it is some really good instrumental stuff, some really good guitar playing to open up, a really neat, very melodic sort of prog. It's not really a solo because he's kind of playing like pre-written lines, that he plays the same every time. And he plays this kind of theme over and over. And then that goes on for several minutes. And we get a nice, really good guitar solo, focused jam that eventually goes back into that theme and ends the song. Just beautiful, magnificent, uplifting, royal, majestic, just one of their best off their first album, mostly instrumental pieces. Phenomenal piece of work. Number 4, Billy Breathes, the title track off the album Billy Breathes. It's a nice ballad, kind of always reminds me of like a late era Beatles ballad. Like I could see like a George Harrison drop in this maybe. It's just got some really nice guitar playing. I think it's got a great Trey vocal performance that just fits the mood of the song perfectly. It's just a really, really beautiful song with some nice hooks, some great playing. Not always a fan of some of their ballads, but I think this is the best of their ballads, and just it works well, whether it's in a live context or whether it's like on the album. Absolutely perfect song. Number 3, second time it essentially appears on this list, Split Open and Melt. No jam on this. The studio version doesn't have that sort of epic melting jam that the live versions would typically have. But the song is so funky. Just the way it's laid out. I like the lyrics. I like the weird breakdown in the middle. I love when they come back into this melt, split open and melt at the end before they go into the jam in the live context, but it works really well on the studio version. I like that little weird kind of ending, boom, boom, ba-dee-dee-dee-doo, and then it ends all weird. Just one of their best written songs. So really good, nice, funky jam band pop funk number. Number 2, Stash. Do 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 do. I love that song. Great riffs. Just love the playing, love the interplay between the band members on those weird, like, snaky lines. Another song that kind of reminds me of early 80s Zappa, like when the Mars, Vi, Man era, with all these different instruments doing these lines over, like overlapping lines that just go one after another, kind of Spinal Tap reference right there. Yeah, just a great song. Great live, great in the studio. I think the little breakdown jam on Picture of Nectar, the studio version, is actually pretty good and pretty interesting. Obviously, it's not your 10-minute epic jam that we could get live, but it's pretty good. And it's a great, fun song. And I just love the little snaky prog lines in it. Just really good, I think, like almost like maybe a typical Phish song in the best way possible. And then my number 1, just a song that great on the studio, live even better. They have a couple different versions where they kind of stretch it out or tighten it up depending on the era, but Free, the opening track off Billy Breathes, I love that. That riff that Trey plays. I love the energy, love that breakdown in the middle when they're like, and I'm free. And it's like about floating, and you feel like you're floating in part of it. And this is one of those jams where when they would jam it out live, there's not really any like lead soloist leading. It's not a Trey solo jam. It's one of those jams where everybody's just trying to create like layers of noise. And maybe they're getting a little more like particular and playing like little melodies or something like that. But it's amidst, A-M-I-D-S-T, amidst. Sounds really weird right now. It's amidst this like field of just noise. It just kind of grows and grows and grows. And what an epic track. And even the studio version is absolutely fantastic. Kicks off Billy Breathes so incredibly well. But yeah, right now, May of 2023, those are my top 10 Phish songs right there. Absolutely fantastic. Great band. Amazing live. Yeah. I like Phish. All right, those are my thoughts. That's Phish, you guys. Let me know what your 10 songs are. Let me know which ones I missed out on. Again, studio only. I know if I made a list of non-studio songs, there are at least 7 that, like, I don't think Free, Stash, and Split Open and Melt are leaving this list. I can't imagine them being taken off this list because in a live context, all 3 of those songs are even more epic. But I got to put on, like, I'm not going to say what I got to put on, but there's so many other songs that aren't released in studio versions that I have to put on a live list. But that'll be a later video for a later time. But anyways, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, and most importantly, go listen to Phish, people. Go listen to all the Phish. Go fishing, my friends. Go fishing. Peace.